Breathing deeply into your body, allowing yourself to center, flow right into this moment, arriving in the heart of now, letting the past fall away, letting go of all futures imagined or feared, and just letting all your energy coalesce in your core as if all of you could arrive in the heart of this moment. This is the sacred moment when you join it. Breathing in as if you could allow your light to spiral down your core on a long, full, deep breath. Breathing out, letting that light fill your body all the way to your skin. Breathing in, letting your light spiral down your core, follow it in. Take up residence in the core of your body. Breathing out, spreading that light down your legs, down your feet. I suggest you might want to release your old grounding. We're changing so fast. It's good to renew it almost every day or two. Releasing it into the earth, letting it dissolve, or offering it to someone who needs it. And on your next in-breath, breathe all the way into the base of your spine and open new roots deep into the earth. Allowing each breath to take you deeper into your grounding, roots from your seat and your feet. Perhaps all the way into a vein of tourmaline or crystal or an underground river, whatever you want to sink your roots into. Breathing into your grounding, breathing out, releasing all that no longer serves, letting go. And let's ask the angels to brush out our energy fields, clearing out everyone else's energy, everything you've already dealt with, releasing all that is not now. And breathing up that earth energy, let it spiral up your core, calling up the resources of the earth to nourish and nurture your chakra system. They love that grounded energy. Letting go on the out breath. Breathing up earth energy, let it weave and wind up through the chakra system, mixed with kundalini from the first, feeding your whole body. Letting go on the out breath. And now from that very grounded place, imagine while you're still in your grounding, you're opening through the crown chakra, the top of your head, opening the 1,000-petal lotus flower, letting it blossom, blossom and blossom, thousands of petals blossoming, unfolding, and that's activating the chakra above, the transpersonal chakra, several inches above the head, and that's also blossoming, still in your grounding, opening to the chakra above that as well. So you're deeply grounded and expanding up at the same time. Letting each chakra you open, from the 1,000-petal lotus flower, opening the next, and opening the next, and opening the next, and opening the next, all the way to the heart of your being. all the way to spirit, your spirit that is pure, untouched by incarnations, and in the absolute realm of oneness and unity. Letting go of any thoughts about how this is or what you're doing, just allow somewhere in your being, you know how. Let that inform you. And allowing the light from that quantum realm, that absolute realm, to flow in absolute scalar waves of sparkling light, washing in and through you, bringing balance and harmony to all your systems, all your chakras, and all aspects of your mind. One hand over the heart, one over Dantian, just below the navel, and bless yourself. Bless yourself. Thank yourself for being here. And bless yourself. Yay. And then feel that expansion in your roots and that sense of connection to light. And can you maintain that as you get up to stretch? You want your grounding to be portable. So slowly move back. Come to standing. Give yourself a little room. And take a moment and shake out. Shake out everything. Shaking out resets the nervous system. Shake out your shoulders. Shake out your fanny. In fact, give it a few slaps. COVID times, this part works really hard. It just keeps sitting there. And all the way down the sides of your legs. And then just bend over and rest a moment. Take a breath and go a little deeper into the stretch. And maybe flex your knees a little so the backs of your legs get stretched. Breathe in. Breathing out as you come up one vertebra at a time. Stacking each on the other, shoulders relaxed. Head's the last to come up. Slowly unfurling. And let's put our hands, fist in the back, and very gently bend over. Breathe in. Let go more on the out breath. Coming back to center. Let's do one more. Stretch over. You can lift that foot if you wish. Get a little bigger stretch. Really feel that on the side of your body. Facing forward. Come back to center and the other side. Okay, let's come to our seats. So we're going to each check in. Whatever order we do this check-in is the same order we'll share at the end of the day, end of our time. So if you will share again your name, because we're learning each other's, and um, whatever helps us understand you a bit. So whatever you feel tells us where you are, who you are, what you're passionate about. And we'll do 3 minutes since we're a smaller group. And I'd love for someone to time because I'm really bad at it. Thank you, Devora. I get so caught up in what people are saying, I forget. Okay, so who would like to begin?
I'll just say first about the timing that when we're at the 2-minute mark, I'll just hold my phone up and then I'll put it down. And then when we're at the 3-minute mark, I'll hold it up again.
Great. Good. So who's first? Laura?
I'll go first. Good morning, everyone. My name's Lara, and as I said previously, I live in Sebastopol, California. I've been here about 20 years, which is longer than I've lived anywhere in my entire life. And I'm starting to feel the itchy little motions of needing some change or maybe needing to leave the area. So I've just been really open to whatever guides me and whatever feels like is sort of the loudest call. I think one of the biggest changes or things that's happened to me throughout this pandemic has been this amazing turn inward. Even like staying off of social media and just really needing to kind of close out the external world and turn inward to strengthen and hone in my own sense of knowing what's true for me, and also to deepen my own relationship with spirit and my own connection to the divine. So I've been working in women's health and birth for 25 years, and I'm just so passionate about ways that we can heal our early traumas and kind of delving into that work a little bit more. I'm in a 3-year training. It's all about early imprinting and healing our early traumas and reorienting to those imprints. So I get to do all of that work myself, which has been so incredibly rich and life-changing. Let's see. I'm really passionate about photography and travel and different cultures. I love going out into the wild and tracking animals and photographing birds of prey. I love gardening. I've been having a really fun love affair with plants, and finally, thank you, Devora, finally like figuring out what plants work in my home, and it's been a lot of fun. Definitely working some old patterns of just being stuck and learning how to embrace the both and.
So that was your 3 minutes. So if you can
That
kind
was
of
that was
condense
like
it.
two
Yeah.
minutes, wasn't it?
She held it up
Oh,
really.
that was my three. Oh, I missed you. Sorry. Yeah. Anyway, doing a lot of work, a lot of exploration, a lot of openness, and I'm super excited to be here. So
Great.
thank you.
And then what we like to offer is our love and blessings. Would you like them? So we sparkle and just send it from our heart. And the person receiving breathes it in. We find the receiving is the giving as well. Thank you. Who's next?
Jump in. So I'm Kai. And let's see, I also have been in Sebastopol for about 20 years, since 2002, and feel deeply rooted in a transplant that is rooted in. However, it's interesting because one of my lifelong yearnings has kind of come to a fruition of sorts, that I've fallen in love with someone who there's just a lot of resonance and connection with on all levels. And he's in San Rafael. So I'm just like, I just actually sent a job application in to be a Waldorf teacher at the Marin Waldorf School. And I'll be just entertaining a conversation with them soon, but it's not looking like it's going to happen this coming August, which in some ways I'm actually relieved about. But there was a openness in my heart to just make that level of a shift, which would be changing location and career, and where my son is rooted, which is a huge thing. He's turning 7 this Friday, and he's been a huge um, grounding for me, and just something that I could show up 100%, 110% to. So I've been really, really grateful to be a mother. It wasn't in the context that I would have hoped for myself, because it wasn't in the context of a committed relationship. But it's all working out, and he's a very happy, healthy kiddo. Um, so yeah, I'm passionate about mothering, and I am passionate about children in general. So I'm wrapping up a 3-year Waldorf teachers training in the area. So recently got a multiple subject teaching credential like 15 years ago from Sonoma State. And then I never felt like ready somehow energetically to hold the space for, sometimes up to 30 kids and their parents. And so there's a part of me that has taken the easy way out in my life. So I have 2 minutes left. Is that what that's saying? Or 1 minute left? Okay. So I've been a body worker, an intimacy coach, kind of a tantric body worker, and it's been a very rewarding and empowering and lucrative career for the last 15 years, I suppose. So there's part of me that feels very comfortable in that, and also wanting to really show up to what I'm here to give. So I feel that's why I'm being called for this transition. But there's still some ambivalence, I have to admit, because my current lifestyle is really conducive to my yoga practice every day. I'm passionate about yoga. I was actually a yoga teacher for 20 years, and still feeling maybe I should get back into that. But I've been on a real healing journey as well. I would say that my own healing process has been probably one of my most passionate things, because I've just had kind of some intense healing health challenges that I feel like I don't know, doing better and better in. So really grateful for that and hopeful for that. But that's my ongoing journey as well. Thank you. Glad to be here, ladies.
Okay. Want some loving and support?
Please.
Breathing it in. Hmm. And our signal is when someone does this, then we complete. And that way, if it's enough, you just, and then we all get to salute. Heart, heart, heart. And next, Kimberly.
I'm Canadian born, Australian raised. and living the last year in the, well, not the last half a year in the US, the last 2.5 years, 3 years in Canada. I'm an adventurer, and I've pretty well explored everything I think there is to see in Australia, but I'm sure there's still another corner I haven't seen. And so I came to Canada, my birthplace, to try and see some new territory, and particularly Alaska, which has been my passion. And I'm about to head off again to Alaska at the end of May. So I'm so excited about that. I'm an artist as well as a business consultant, sort of equal left, right brain. I have, in terms of my spiritual practice, I suppose more intensively of recent would be with Cryon. I don't know if any of you have heard of him. He channels through a fellow, and that has helped me grow leaps and bounds. But I'm really excited about this whole new area here. So, yeah, that would be me.
Okay. You ready for some loving?
Thank you.
Yay. Next.
I can go. I'm Katie or Catherine, and it's things we think you should know about us. Okay. Okay. So I am a visual artist, and I'm also a psychic medium. And I think the biggest thing I'm working through now, or working towards, is almost giving myself permission to lead with my intuition as opposed to my mind or that logic, the ego. I worked in accounting and tax law for years, and I got burnt out. And I think it's interesting because when I started to give myself permission to set some of that down and pursue the work that really lights me up, it kind of just fell into place. And so that's where I am wanting to develop almost my confidence in my abilities and my purpose. It's kind of a lot of, I can read for a client and tell them all the things I need to, but to do that for myself, just from a place of me overcoming self-doubt, is something I'm working towards. So, I'm coming out of this very structured, micromanaged environment I was in for years to now leading with my intuition. So in a way it feels very validating from spirit or source, but in a way it's also very foreign to my ego human brain. So that's where I'm at. I live in Asheville, North Carolina, but I'm originally from the Midwest, Ohio, and have lived in other areas around the East Coast, Midwest, but I'm here now. And I think that's kind of me in a nutshell. Nothing else is really necessarily coming to mind, but I'm excited to be here.
Great. Want some loving?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Breathe it in. Yeah.
Thanks. Thank you.
I'm Devora, and after spending 11 years as a hospice chaplain, I decided to take a sabbatical and to live in a van and to go find my home. And after I found my home, which I believe is in Santa Barbara, California, I decided to set across the country to meet Evelina. And so that's been what's drawing me across the country. And it's actually amazing because there's so much in it for me doing this, and unrelated to you.
Good.
Yeah. But that was the initial impetus. I'm a rabbi, and I'm in this period of great transformation spiritually, really awakening to this I feel like I'm this, maybe that we all are, like this holy trinity of body, ego, personality, and soul. And I'm learning to discern the different voices within me and to have them be in conversation. And I've decided to surrender to my soul in every moment that I can, and remember to. And it's a very exciting time. Like, it's so mysterious how this works, and the relationship healing that's happening in my life right now as a result of this new awareness. And just I'm just learning so much, and it's kind of mind-blowing at times. I feel like I'm really stepped outside of the paradigm of consensus reality that we've all been steeped in from the beginning of our lives. And it's exciting. And Evelina had asked in the last cohort that I was in for us to fill out an evaluation, which I still haven't done, but I just sat down before spiritual mentorship today and just got clear with the first thing that I said in the group, which is that I really want to be able to hear in my intuitive voice more, and to have better discernment between what is ego personality and what is higher consciousness. Thank you.
Want some loving? So, I too, in this this time, pardon me, of COVID, have found it to be a deep exploration of who I am. And I've actually loved being home. I've been an extrovert for so many years, and it's like, ooh, I get to be an introvert. And I am so enjoying my own company and being able to really explore more deeply who I am and what I'm going to be when I grow up and those kinds of questions. I feel my work it's moving to another level. It's much more cosmic. It's much more inclusive. It's like we don't just heal a life, we heal all the lives like that. It's pretty amazing. I'm loving it. I just keep growing with it. And I just started a super slow, high intensity weight training. I was doing it in Sebastopol, and I love it because it strengthens each muscle individually. So get my strength back. And some of you know I looked forever for the right staff person. I have a new one, and she's fabulous. She anticipates my needs. She loves it. She wants to stay, and that feels really good after going through 11 people in the last 2.5 years. So we're kind of cleaning up the mess of 11 people doing things their way, but it's really, really good. So I'll take your loving. Thank you. So, how about a nice deep breath? These are extraordinary times, as you know, and we don't know what's coming next. I want to show you the astrological chart for where things are in the heavens right now. And even if, wait a minute, there we go. even if you don't know astrology, I think you can see that things are a little skewed. Everything in the heaven is in this one quadrant. It doesn't necessarily mean it's that part of the sky because it depends on what the rising is. So it could be wherever it is in your chart. So I did it for today. So wherever these signs show up in your chart. But what's really intense, I'm pointing at it like you can see me, but I know you can't. I guess you could if I use my cursor. What's really intense, see all these red lines between Uranus, Pluto, the Sun, Saturn, and Jupiter. And they're also sandwiched between the personal planets, Mars and Venus, Mars and Mercury. Venus and Mercury, sorry about that. Mars is down here with Uranus. So the whole sky is about this tension, this dynamic tension that's creating new foundations under everything. And Uranus, that's so active right now, is the planet of sudden radical change. So you might be going one direction and, we're going this direction now. It's stabilized by being connected to Saturn, but it also is continuing all the changes of this last year where we've had such a Saturnine influence. So, and then we have photon belt that we're going through and a lot of cosmic influences coming in. So I think the message here is to just keep arriving in your center. You know, you can't follow the old guidelines because they're all shifting. And the plans you had up to now, Uranus goes, that was fun. It might just bat it away. To be creative with these energies is to just look at what wants to shift and how to understand that, not necessarily go off with where Uranus wants to take you, but ground it and then see what that means and where are the definitions of myself that I don't need anymore. What Saturn likes to do is clear out foundations that don't work. So how have I been seeing myself in ways that aren't serving me? And what constrictions have I put on where I'm going that may not be necessary? And then, of course, the most important question, what does my heart want to do? What does my heart want to do? I have read various people who look at the astrology because it's so potent right now. And most of them are saying that we're in a time of great growth. It is the bringing in of the new earth, and where the old earth standards, the old earth metaphors and patterns aren't holding sway anymore. So you want to add your vote to what really feels is needed on the planet and for yourself. One Mayan astrologer said, we're entering a 5-year time of great progress. And it does feel like there's just kind of go ahead. There's green lights for these changes, and they may look different than we thought. So she also said, this is a year to set into motion our new earth passions and purpose. So I asked all of you to fill out these questionnaires, and one of the questions was, what blocks you? What blocks you from moving forward? And I'd like you to just kind of hold that. What blocks me? What is my mind telling me blocks me? What do I believe in that is in my way? And see if you can get an image of that, some words, some phrases. And then ask yourself this question. How do I give it power to block me? And breathe into that question. How do I give that power to block me? It's your psyche. How do I hold that it has that kind of power? And if it still has power, then ask that what's blocking you, how it serves you. It's there for a reason. May not be how you want to be served right now, but it is serving you. So just check in with that. How are you serving me? And am I willing to surrender that? And be honest, maybe you aren't. But if you're not, get curious about it. And if you are, get curious about what it would take to surrender that. And if you wish to surrender, the subconscious changes by ritual and imagery. So you got to get a little dramatic for it to know that you're doing something different. So if you're willing to surrender, use your hands, and wherever that block is, just imagine you literally lift it out. Wherever it is in your body, it's in your mind, your throat, your expression, offer it up to the angels and the guides. I'm done with this. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for going. Ah. And visualize it or imagine you can visualize it leaving. Imagining or actually seeing it is the same to the psyche. So Council and I have been kind of playing with this 5-step program for spiritual growth. 5 steps of, the biggest step of all is getting to the point of surrender. So we kind of use the hand. The thumb is surrender because that's the big one. And then it's allow. So can you allow that to shift? Allow yourself to let go of what may have been a protection or a coping mechanism. Allow. Really letting go and allow what is without what you released, what you surrendered. And allow spirit to work. And then the next step is accept. I accept I've gotten in my own way. I accept that I thought I needed that. I don't. I accept that I'm opening to a new level. Whatever accept is for you. And each of these stages can take minutes or hours or days or years. We go through them again and again. And the next is acknowledge. Oh, I really could have power over that. I am a powerful being. I acknowledge I can choose my path forward. Whatever you want to acknowledge. What's to be acknowledged in this area for you? Because acknowledge opens the door to the last stage, which is arrive. So now you arrive in the new place. You arrive most likely in stillness. But whatever arrive means for you, arrive. Full breath. And just notice what you learned in that little journey. And if anyone wants to share your experience, please unmute and do. Devorah?
I just have one quick question. You said the subconscious changes by ritual and
Imagery.
imagery.
Imagination. It needs the pictures. You can use affirmations all day and talk your way into a new way of being, and the subconscious goes, ho hum. But you add ritual, you do an altar, you do something active, and this is a form of ritual, letting go. Or you bring imagery to it, preferably both. The subconscious pays attention. And that's when you get the deeper shifts.
When I hadn't remembered what word you used, what I thought was movement because of the way you were using the hand. And I felt like the hand was like a rosary kind of as you were using it with these. And I felt like that would be helpful for me with using these 5 terms, which I think I feel like I need a refresher on what each one means. But that what came to mind and is that what's blocking me is procrastination.
Mm.
And that, and I was kind of surprised, how do I give it power to block me? And what I heard was that it's a kind of a resistance to what is. And that was new information. I mean, I've lived with procrastination for most of my life. So, but to put it in along with resisting life, that was, I don't know, I need to think about that more. Mm-hmm. And how does it serve me? I don't know. What came is that I'm holding on to fear.
Mm-hmm.
And I was kind of disappointed in my response to, am I willing to surrender that? Because I really would have liked like a complete, like, yes, but I didn't feel that. I felt like yes, and like this fear kind of a feeling.
Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of disappointing, but I suppose useful.
Useful. And it would be lovely to journal, maybe have 3 voices, the procrastination, the fear, and your voice. Have the 3 of you talk to each other.
Thank you.
Yeah. The importance of that question of how do I give power is we think these things have power over us. But everything in our psyche, we give power. Right? We don't have to. And it's shifting that awareness to, wait a minute, maybe I don't have to have procrastination accompany me everywhere. Maybe I can find a better strategy. And if you can find out, everything is a strategy in nonviolent communication. If you can find out what that strategy is trying to do for you, then you can find a strategy that meets that. So it's trying to deal with your fear. So what else might help deal with your fear? Or what's under your fear? And are you afraid of failure, or are you afraid of success? It's a really good question to ask yourself when you've got fear. What am I really afraid of? I found out most of my fears were being bigger than I thought I was, or succeeding, or being known, or people might expect things of me because I give, or their fear of my bigness, not my smallness. How many agree with that? I'm seeing some head shaking. Yeah, there we are. So then you have a conversation with your fear. I'm going to go ahead and be big. Here's a pillow. You can sit here and witness. Want an angel? You can have an angel. And I'm no longer going to let you run the show. Because the fear is usually a young one, right? It's usually a young part of us that, when we were that age, had to manage life, maybe for us and our parents. And now it thinks it needs to still run things. But if you really get in touch with it, it's probably an inner nurturing job. Anyone else want to share? Thank you. Laura?
Well, it's interesting. I mean, there's a lot of tangents that I could go down right now. It's like, I think part of it is calling my own BS. Like, I'm so good at saying what I want to hear, or even knowing like what somebody else wants to hear. And so over the last 5 or so years, I've really had to like do some work there. Like, what is true for me? What is authentic for me? Because I really learned to kind of put on a show for my parents when I was young. And so it's almost like there's a fantasy world. And this whole exercise brings me to, I recently had an appointment with a naturopathic doctor because I wanted to take control of my gut health. And one of the questions was, and just to change some habits that have been kind of plaguing me for a very long time. And one of the questions was, how committed are you to making these changes? And of course, I put 10. And now I'm sort of like, wow, I totally lied. I mean, it wasn't like a conscious lie, but like, I haven't really implemented some of the changes. And, those old patterns are so strong. And it's sort of like there's this resistance, which I think ultimately goes back to fear. And for me, that "are you afraid of success" just really landed. Like, oh, I'm so much more fearful of being big than I am of failing. Failing is an interesting term, and there's so much wrapped up in failure in our society, like in terms of monetary failure and, just things that I don't necessarily resonate with. But it's almost like there's this internal battle going on between the part of me that knows the path forward, and then the part of me that just wants to keep the homeostasis, which isn't working anymore. That those old patterns, I can really feel that they're not working. And yet there's this like, I don't know, I'm a double Scorpio with Scorpio, and my Venus is in Scorpio, and there are all these planets in Scorpio. And I'm like, I always read that Scorpios are lazy and indulgent. And I'm just like, oh yeah, that's me. And yet it's not, so there's sort of this like juxtaposition of like a battle of the wills. And so this is such a perfect inquiry of like, what is really underneath? And I do think a lot of it is fear of fear of actualizing what I already feel is here, and yet I'm afraid to step into. It's like the last few coats that need to come off that don't fit anymore, you know, and yet I'm like, oh, but this one's so cozy and like it feels good and I've worn it forever, and you know, it's 12 sizes too big and it's like old and moldy and needs to come off. And so anyway, it's just an interesting, like, there's just so much around fear and self-limitation. Like, I'm the one who limits myself. Nobody else does. And sort of, you know, I think there's a lot of information there and a lot of inquiry. It's beautiful exercise.
Great.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah.
And it's true. We're the ones that limit us. Great. Who else would like to share? Kimberly?
Evelyn, I'm sorry, I didn't get that questionnaire, so I spent a fair bit of that time writing down the questions so I can reflect a little bit more about what those blockages are. But I was trying to grasp, and this may be really at a superficial level because I haven't given it a lot of time, but I'm feeling very much caught between three countries at the moment, not even knowing which is home. I keep getting my airfare back to Australia canceled, which is very unsettling. And yes, and I'm going to get teary because I really don't know where home is.
Yeah. Breathing into the tears. There's room for them.
So I'm not exactly sure what block is underlying all of that. But maybe I'm not to know the answer yet because what needs to appear hasn't appeared yet.
Curious if there's a block that relates at all to not letting yourself know.
Well, I've got two physical blocks against two of those countries. So I'm not sure that I can move either of those.
Right.
Both of those are sitting with government. So the only country that I have access to, and I have to retreat to if the others two governments continue to respond the way they are, is I have to retreat to Canada, which is not a place at this point in time desirable.
Yeah.
Not sure what I can move. I just accept that when the time comes, visa-wise, that's the only option. That's my only option.
Yeah. Yeah. We can add our prayers that the world opens to you living where you're meant to be living. Yeah. Okay. Anyone else?
I can go. Or did you want Kai to go?
Katie.
Oh, okay, thanks. So I've been releasing a lot of fear lately, but I know that's something I'm still working on. And for me, it sounds almost maybe a little counterintuitive, but I almost want to give myself permission to keep like an ounce of the fear. And I say that because I do feel like, I started selling my visual art and doing spiritual services when I moved to Asheville about 1.5 years ago. And I had some good experiences in local galleries. I had some not so great ones. And I do feel like I do have some fear as one of my galleries was robbed. And I personally have PTSD from having been robbed when I was in college at gunpoint. So it's been like that really shook me up on a soul level because it just triggered some very deep, painful memories for me.
Mhm.
And so I left that gallery for that reason. The money of it, and then also the just the energy didn't feel right for me. And I've been wanting to get back into my art and selling it. I'm still creating, I'm getting commissions now. And like, I don't have the room to really store this realistically in my apartment. So I'm looking for a little studio space where I can do readings too. But part of me is like, you have to be smart. You know, you can't just throw your money at any space or make sure they have cameras and blah, blah, blah. And realistically, I know I'm just okay. You just have to be mindful of a little bit of security, make sure it feels good to you, check in with yourself first. And
Mhm.
I feel like it's me overcoming the ego, but also giving myself permission to be logical if it serves me in that moment. And so that's where I know I can find balance and honor myself authentically, but I'm also trying to give myself permission to let myself feel the past, but not necessarily project it into my present or future.
Mhm.
And that's something I feel like is kind of a constant process for me with PTSD. But I think the biggest thing is giving myself permission to honor my feelings and where I'm at, but remember that they aren't necessarily my identity.
Good.
Finding that balance.
And perhaps at some point today or in this group, we often do a soul retrieval, and we might do one from that robbery in college, which can really help clear PTSD, if you'd ever want us to do that.
I I don't know if I could do it in a group format because that's like a very traumatic thing for me.
Yeah,
But let me think about it if that's fair.
of course it is.
Okay.
I really encourage all of us to have boundaries. You know, if you don't have a clear no, you don't have a clear yes. And we need that sense of that you're choosing for you, not because someone asked you. So it's not mine to tell you what's right. It's your heart to know. Yeah. And the soul retrieval, and it's written up on the website. It's a fabulous way to get that part of you out of PTSD. So I encourage you to maybe read about it and either do it. You can do one individually with me, or we can do it in the group. This group gets pretty intimate, so you'll see. There may be a time when it feels okay.
I'm going to marinate on it for a little bit. Thank you.
Marinate's good. Great. Thank you. And Kai.
All right. Yeah. Well, when I wrote about the question, what came to mind was that my inability to have established a meditation practice after when I was 19, I was exposed to Vipassana meditation through a 10-day retreat and just harvested the gifts of it. And it's just so weird that I don't make space for it when it's and I remember when I was I did a yoga and mindfulness program through Spirit Rock where we were trying to bridge together Dharma with yoga and so we were doing that and so when I show up to these retreats is when I have, you know, the context makes me basically show up. But I was like, I never show up to meditation and the guy was like, well, that's the easy part. The yoga is the hard part for me. That, you know, just sitting there, that's easy. And I was just like, it's so the opposite for me. Like my body needs yoga, so I have to do that. But for some reason, so I do need to look at that. um but what came up in this context when you asked the question fresh was this, I literally used the words playing small. So it's funny that you talked about the fear of being big, because it was like
Mhm.
the opposite was that. And so, and I realized too that there's this shadow element of being a tantric body worker, that I've had to be super discreet, and being a mother too, like super private. And so I hope for confidentially, like I'm feeling like in this container, it's important for me to voice that, because there's been so much of not bringing that aspect to the table because of societal, pressures or whatever. And so once I feel liberated in my own space to just claim that I can be authentic in contexts that other people might judge. But there's another part of me that is wanting to just be public, like be right. So I don't know if that's the draw that I'm feeling toward just exploring a different profession. But I guess the public piece is also like, why am I like, I don't post on Facebook or that much, or there's that's why I was working with my throat chakra. There's some piece of blockage of me being in full expression in, and so it's a voice thing too. I went to something, it was like one of the first gatherings I've been to since COVID, and it was a kirtan. So I was literally singing my heart out, and like singing at the top of my voice. And I like haven't done that. And it was so blissful. It was so yummy. It's definitely a practice that I feel drawn to, because it was that bringing the heart and your consciousness, and like the voices in between that. And it was just that expression of bringing that through prayer. So I don't know. Devotional singing is then another practice, like this meditation and the devotional singing. It's like, how do I show up to these things? I don't know what more I have to say. I think I have to go through the process more of the surrender. Is it allow, accept, acknowledge? Is that what they were? And then arrive.
Yeah. So the
Oh, my
person
connection's
mowing my lawn,
okay. Yeah, my connection's a little unstable.
I haven't been able to get this lawn mowing person here for days, and now he's choosing to do it. And he's got this monster machine, very testosterone. So I'm going to go close my windows. Well, now he stopped, but I want to close, and maybe we'll take our break while he's doing that. So I encourage you to just breathe in. Breathe in the sense of, what if I really have mastery over how I hold my life? What if I really allowed my full expression to arrive and I step into it? And what do I release to do that? And you may not be ready today, but what would need to release to step into the heart of who I'm here to become? And what do I call in? Because in your soul, you've had lifetimes on all through the cosmos. There's probably anything you need to learn, you've probably learned somewhere. So what do I need to call in? What soul qualities would it be wise for me to call in to support that forward motion? You know, when I showed you the astrology chart, what I didn't say is everything's in one little quadrant of the sky, so there's nothing over on in the other parts to balance. And so we've got to bring balance in. What will help me balance these places where I haven't been ready to take off on my true work? So I think it's a good time to take our break while they're being really noisy here. I'll close up a bit. So we'll come back at, it's 1:11 here. Let's come back at 20 after the hour, wherever you are. Okay? I am muting now. Coming on back as you're ready. I'm going to take one more minute. I think the boys and his toys are almost done. So maybe just enjoying your grounding for a minute, because he's got the noisiest one he's bringing around. Okay. Thank you for your patience. So what I'd like to do is call in the Council of 12, and they'll speak to us, and then if you want, we can practice some channeling with each other. What we've found really valuable is to have, the council really helps open each of us to our beings, our light, our own wisdom. And to have someone ask a question, and they can be pretty deep and personal if you wish, about whatever you want to inquire about. And then each person will tune in and see if you're guided to offer something channeled, or you might get a vision that you share. And the more we practice that surrender part, the more we can really allow ourselves to bring through higher wisdom. And that's what we're here to practice. Does that sound good? Devorah?
I have a request. In the last cohort, we all would do channeling, but I feel like I could really use a one-on-one 101 on how to channel, and I feel like I could use like just some structure on, I don't know, like what my mindset is supposed to be, or I'm not sure exactly, but I just feel like there's something that I'm missing and that I didn't really grok about how to do it.
Okay. Does that seem good to everyone? I kind of think that's what they're planning to offer. And I think it's really good. And if there's more you want to know, then ask the council. But I think that's good. You know, it's interesting with these cohorts because sometimes 5 or 6 of the 8 will stay, and then we don't go over the early information. And now we have Laura, who's been here several times, and Devora one other time. So it's kind of time to go back and review that, I think. So, okay. Anything else wants to be said or asked before we bring in our friends in high places? Okay. So it's always oh, yes, I am still recording. It's always wise to use an invocation to be sure you're inviting in the beings that you want to invite in and only them. And I'm very choosy. So let's do the invocation and then you'll have this recorded. And if you want to come back and use it, you can, or adapt it for yourself. So I invite each of you to center and ground, arriving in the core of your body. I ask the angels and archangels, please create for us a crystalline temple of radiant energy, crystalline temple of light, all around each of us and this work. I ask that you clear and cleanse all energies not of the light from around any of us. And we, for each of us, our own chrysalis of radiant light, filled with the rays and vibrations needed by each person here, our bodies and our lives, and by this collective. I ask God, Goddess, source of all that is, encompass us in your radiant light. Ensure only beings serving love, light, and truth may participate in any way. Highest truth is all that is spoken. Deepest healing and guidance is received. If you will, call in your most radiant high self to assist you in receiving all you need, releasing all it serves to release, and filling with your radiance, breathing in your light and light from Source. I welcome into this sacred temple the Council of 12, and I welcome those beings who are radiant guides or angels for anyone here to come into the sacredness of this temple. Greetings, dear one, dear ones. We greet you. We are so honored that you choose to be with us, to work in concert with these amazing women in this cohort. We love that. And yes, there's ways that we can support you in your evolution toward hearing your intuition more, hearing guidance more. We're not saying just to channel because people tend to think of channel as I have to let someone or something foreign speak through me. And, well, if it's foreign, certainly vet it really well. And it's more about the lovely guides and angels that have been with you throughout your incarnation, whether you know it or not. So it's really, can I let the highest, brightest, most radiant beings of light that my soul knows speak through me? And that's always what you want to ensure, highest, brightest, most radiant. Now, in your early meditation today, you were opening, while grounded, opening to the chakras beyond the crown. when you open to these chakras, you're opening into your own multidimensional being. And you're very wise in your multidimensional being. You want to let go of the sense of separation that channeling is beyond me. And in a sense, get beyond you. Get open to the wisdom and the awareness of your own soul. You'll be opening to wisdom and consciousness that's worthy to let speak through you, but it will still feel like channeling because you're calling from a level of consciousness where you're not usually residing. Now, you might want to learn to reside there. That's even more fun. Channeling a guide is another level of opening to expanded consciousness. So there were oracles of old, and there were, in most textures, most scriptures, you'll see references to the wise ones that people would go to because somehow they had access to wisdom beyond knowing, their knowing. In the ancient goddess temples, there was a sanctuary behind the altar, and the high priest or high priestess would go into that sanctuary and literally sit with the goddess that the temple was dedicated to and say, okay, now what? And have like a conference, like sitting with a boss or a board of directors, but not a boss that wants to run you, simply one that knows, can see all and be all. So the higher you go in that channel of reaching into your multidimensional nature, the more you're connecting with beings of radiant light. What we discourage in channeling is to just open and let anyone, whoever wants to, speak through you. Because there are a lot of beings on the astral plane or in the bardos, in the Tibetan sense, that would love an opportunity to connect to someone on earth and seem wise, and they're willing to be your guide. And that's how you get channels that the only credential for the guide is they were a thief. What? That's not the level of evolution you want to work with. Or they invented war. That was an interesting one. So Ramtha, his lifetime he wants to talk about is inventing war. Be thoughtful how you listen to those who come with an ego about what they are and what they do. So one of the ways to identify higher guidance is it doesn't have an agenda. It's here to serve. There may be things that your guides would love for you to hear, but they don't push it on you and they don't force it because we don't really want a life. If we try to run yours, we take on your karma and no thank you. And if we wanted a life, we could get our own. So we're not here to help you live your life well. We're not here to help you do right or be good. We're not in that polarity of good, bad, right, wrong. We don't, it's kind of formed us. Actually, it's like, whew, that planet Earth with its polarities, that's intense. And then we want to find what's between those, what's the middle way. So in that, our purpose in the guidance is to help you begin to inquire into truth and have support in where it's wise to look. When we see the potential of this mentorship to support you in, could be called channeling. We also hear listen to my higher intuition, listen to my wisdom, listen to my soul. So why limit sources? What if you start allowing all those higher sources of wisdom and knowledge to talk to you, to speak to you, to accompany you, to offer you whatever you wish? So then one wants to think, well, I'll just tell my guides and angels I want you to be here all the time. Oh, yeah. That's turning over authority and power, and we don't need it. We don't want it. When you want to hear, ask. It's like a conversation. You can invite someone into your house, but you don't have a conversation until someone begins it. But we wait for you to begin it, almost all the time. Once in a while, if you're sitting in an opportunity and you're going, oh, what's right here? What do I want? We might suggest, we might offer wisdom, or if there's danger. One day Evelina heard, slow down right now, while she was driving. I was like, whoa. And she was coming around this corner onto the freeway, and we said again, slow down. She slowed all the way down, and then there was water running across the road. A perfectly sunny day. So that might happen, and you want to encourage it. Speak to me when I need support. Yeah. It's all around permission. So, when you tune in here to guidance, part of that is giving permission. I want to call on the highest, brightest, clearest voices that want to speak through me. Highest, brightest, clearest, most radiant beings. Be specific. And then what often helps is to drop again into your core, like you were when we began. And even more, if you let your light spiral down your center, follow it in, come sit in your heart chakra. So the difference we see between psychic work and channeling is the psychic work, we don't want to characterize people as psychics or channels because we can be everything, but the psychic process is more third eye. You get images, you get information, and then your third chakra is helping interpret that. You're giving voice to it. But there's more of you in the equation. Now, we've already established you've got a lot of wisdom, so that's also valid. Channeling, we feel, is more heart and crown. So you come into your heart chakra, let yourself spiral down into your heart, take up residence, and it's lovely to make a sanctuary there. Beautiful sitting area, comfy space. What would you like for an inner temple? An altar. And whenever you go into your heart, if you have any intention you want to empower, put a symbol on the altar of that intention. So whatever you were seeing in this work so far today, you can put a symbol on the altar for that intention and then bring light into it. So you make this a place for evolving your true path. And by using the altar, which altars are actually portals between the worlds. Altars are portals between the worlds. The ancient wells that so many temples were built on or around, they're portals between the worlds. So when you sit at an altar with intentionality, you're allowing your consciousness to open to worlds beyond this one. And there's so many realms of existence. There's such a vast mystery to explore. and it adds color to your life. And Kimberly, even while you can't travel, you can travel this way. And there are no restrictions. No governments governing, there's just universal truth. So, so you come to sit in your heart, and then the crown, you can imagine just looking up, but not looking out, looking up, looking through your core into your third eye with the crown that's opening to the consciousness beyond. And then the big one, surrender. That is the biggest step. One of the differences between channeling and interpreting what you receive, which is also okay, you know, there are steps toward where we're going. But one of the differences is in channeling, you get an urge to speak, you get a few words, and you open your mouth and you begin not knowing what you're going to say next. Part of its value is it teaches you that level of surrender. If I don't need to know, I can trust that I'm part of this vast mystery. And what comes through, because I want to offer the highest I can, what comes through will be valuable. And in channeling, you may only know what you're saying as you hear yourself saying it. We imagine in mediumship, it's the same. You're finding that, oh, this is what wants to get said, and there's surrender. What, what we encourage with channeling is to really create a very rarefied space with the invocation, so that when you're surrendering to wisdom. And it's often been said, just because someone's dead doesn't mean they're wise. So for channeling, when you're opening here, we ask that you really open to guides, higher wisdom, that you look up into beings that have light. And you can always, when some energy wants to speak through you, you can say, show me your light. Evelina's had Christ come and say, show me your light. And he lights up. She's had a being that looked really beautiful and really wanted to talk to her and guide her when she was at a concert on the lawn in Austin, Texas. Blue guide, blue being, beautiful, wanted her to go for walking, and it felt okay, kind of, yeah. And so she began to have an interaction, and then the guy got really curious about her sexuality, wanted to talk about that. And she said, show me your light. And he said, oh, I don't need to do that. You can tell I'm full of light. She said, show me your light. And he said, oh, no, that's just silly. You know me. And she said, Kali Ma, come clear this being out of here. If you can't show me your light, you have no permission to be here. I command and require you to leave this instant. And Kali helps that one leave, or you call in angels, or whatever. If a being doesn't show you their light, they're not worthy of you surrendering to. There might be times, for instance, if we're channeling, bringing through words from someone's deceased loved ones, we'll allow that in the space and be able to bring through the words. But the one you channel, especially here, just reach high. Reach high. So any questions about that process? We're going to say one more thing. It might seem very strange, but you have, oh, the words were there. You have these little antennae. Take your hands from here and just imagine that you're clearing these channels. Yeah. So one of the beauties of the invocation is that people close their eyes. What you don't see is while Evelyn is doing the invocation, she's clearing her field, letting the angels help her, releasing any cords that might have accumulated, clearing the transmedium channels, that's what they're called, and opening the crown, settling in, arriving, maybe running her arms on her legs, really grounding. So that's part of preparing to surrender. So in terms of this, being willing to let yourself be a vessel, you almost want to go through those 5 steps because you want to arrive in your center. So how about I surrender any beliefs, concepts, understandings, teachings, cultural values that do not serve my evolution as a channel and an intuitive. I surrender them all. And then offer those up. Use your ritual and imagery. Get up and shake out if you want. Get dramatic. Subconscious. Out of here, out of here, out of here. I don't want that. No, 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 no. Out, 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 out. Whatever. It's just a matter of facilitating the surrender. And then I allow myself to get really still. Look up into my third eye. Ask for the highest wisdom and to wait. And I accept. May take a bit. I'm learning. It's okay. Oh, I'm feeling guided to speak. Oh, and I acknowledge I'm scared. I acknowledge I'm wanting to. I'm acknowledging I don't know if I'm good enough. I'm acknowledging my mind is busy. I think I'll go back to accept. Okay, I accept that I can let my mind go. I acknowledge I'm letting it go more, and I arrive. And it's kind of that process. You'll get to where you can do it quickly. During the invocation, often also Evelina is bringing herself into the heart, her small self. So if you think of it as your expanded self can open to these upper chakras, your small self, the ego, you don't need to fight it or get rid of it or conquer it. You just love it and you say, ego, small self, come sit in my heart. I want to expand into my wisdom self. Or you can ask your ego to sit on a little pillow beside you. Ask your fear to sit there. It's lovely with fear. Fear will show up and you go, oh, hi, fear. I knew you'd be here. Here, I got a pillow for you right over here. Why don't you sit over here? You can watch. We'll put an angel with you if you like. So you get your fear settled and invite the ego to either sit near you and take notes or come in the heart and just be in that sanctuary. And you invite your conscious mind to be still. And then you arrive in a transpersonal place where intuition can happen and where you can allow something to be spoken. And then you step off the cliff. It's the beginning of every journey, right? It's the first card of the tarot. And when you really let yourself channel, it feels like that almost every time. And Spirit always manages what happens after the cliff, after you step off the cliff. So now, any questions about that? Okay, let's practice. So tune in and see if you have a question, if you'd like to be one to offer an inquiry. And also tune in if you're not moving into a question, tuning into your being, light of your soul, the sanctuary in your heart. And who's guided to give us an inquiry to channel to? What do you most want to know? Or what's a challenging scene you want to unravel? I got you so out of your conscious mind, there's no problems, eh? That's nice. And still, someone ask a question, an inquiry. What would you like to know? Laura.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Just sort of popped in. I mean, I have a million questions, but I have a client who I'm sort of struggling with. And I imagine that there's some really good work for me around boundaries. This is a client that I'm supporting to have her baby in the hospital. So it'll be virtually. And the struggle is that I feel like I keep repeating myself and giving the same advice and suggestions. And this has been for much of the pregnancy. And so I find myself I'm working with it, and working with a lot of new skills around not being irritated and angry, because of course my goal is to hold them in the highest of light and remember that this is her journey. But it's almost like I feel like I keep running into a brick wall over and over. And so I guess my question is, how do I move through the brick wall? Because it's not my place to change her. This is her journey. Mm-hmm. And I feel like I'm expending a lot of energy saying the same things and reiterating what I've already reiterated. And then watching the choices that get made that are really interesting choices that wouldn't be choices that I would make. based on myself and what I know of this person and this family. So I'm curious about, yeah.
Great. Thank
Was
you.
that a clear enough question?
I think so.
Great.
So tuning in your core, tuning into the sanctuary in your heart. Looking up into your third eye. Feeling expansion through your crown. Allowing light and wisdom to come in. What wants to be spoken through you in response to this inquiry? Deborah?
Laura, the image that comes to mind is like a mud dam. And what I'm seeing is that with every repetition that of the same thing that you are saying, it's like there's a little scratching of the mud to make a hole. And just keep saying the things that you're saying and just keep letting go of the irritation, because there's a blockage, not yours, hers. She is doing the best she can and just she needs to hear the same thing over and over and over. And I feel that eventually there will be the last little scratching away of the mud, and then the water will be able to flow through. And this also feels like a birth image of the flowing of the waters. And so for yourself, it's not your job to try to have her progress faster than she's able to progress. Just keep giving her the information that you know is important. And it's working its way through. And so part of the service of the heart is sharing your love and compassion and wisdom without needing to have a particular outcome on her part in your time frame.
And then you might ask, how does that land?
How does that land?
Yeah, that's really spot on, Devorah. I really like the image of the mud and the muddy dam, and the movement of the water through the dam. It just reminded me of amniotic fluid releasing and letting that movement start. And I definitely feel attached to a certain outcome for her, because we have history together, and I just have to honor that the choices that have been made are the choices that have been made, and that this is not my path. My path is as support. And I know that all intellectually, but I think there's a certain attachment to an outcome that I have, because of our history and what I've seen before and what I've seen her do. And so it's an interesting adhesion that I feel to this outcome. And so I have to unstick the tape.
Great.
And allow for that double-sided tape to be peeled back and just release her into her own process.
Yes. You know, one more thought that I have is that it may be through the whole process of this pregnancy, you're not going to see the results that you want to see.
So, Devorah,
But
I want
yeah,
to just interject.
okay.
It felt like you were channeling to begin with.
Yeah.
Now you're sharing a thought you have, and what we want to call attention to is sharing something in the negative. When when you share, you're not going to see, or it's not your job. In a way, there's less information in that than if you can say it as we describe above the line in the positive. So even this thought, and you're owning it as your thought, but it might be you may need to go through this whole pregnancy releasing the need for her to hear you. So now it's what could be instead of what is not. And we encourage that with your channeling. When you hear, just start getting a little internal awareness, because this culture often says things in the negative. Boundaries become, I don't want to do that, or I'm not willing, or I'm not, or this, it's not my, whatever. So to transmute those knots to what's possible.
Okay.
Okay.
Can I just take one moment then and share because I feel like there's one more bit.
Yes.
Okay. With her giving birth, I sense that all the wisdom and support that you are sharing with her and will continue to share, that it will come together for her at that moment.
Feel how different.
Go ahead.
Feel how different that is than the knot. Okay.
Yeah, it reminds me of something that I often say to clients, that when we're thinking about giving birth, there can be a lot of anxiety. And it's the anticipation of an event that we don't know how it's going to evolve.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we're actually in the event, that anxiety sort of dissipates because we're in the doing phase, or
Mm-hmm.
we're in the action. And so I think that speaks very directly, Devorah, what you just said, to that, like, there's the anxiety now and the what if and the how's it going to go, and she may be kind of living in that, and then when it's time to give birth, she's going to do it. She's
Yep.
going to have her baby.
Yes, and it's been done through eons.
Right.
So,
And there's a
Devorah,
birth,
what we
there's
want to, the teaching we want to do is that when you went back to it and you tuned in, now you're accessing a higher level of what wanted to get said, and just to kind of feel that in yourself, that difference. Yeah.
Lara, there's a birth here for you too.
Yeah, there sure is. Thank you.
So who else? Thank you, Devorah. Good job. Who else is being guided to offer wisdom? Kimberly?
Okay, so I've been painting professionally since 2000, 1999, 2000. Upon arriving in the US, November last year, I started 2 paintings. Now, every time you change country, for those who are not painters, you need to understand, well, if you're a landscape painter, you need to get the character, understand it, colors, new palette, all that sort of thing. At this point in time, I have still not finished those two paintings, and that is very concerning.
Is this in response to Laura's inquiry?
Oh, sorry. No, I thought we were a new question.
No, we're still responding to Laura's inquiry. Then we can come to that. Okay. So we want to see if anyone else wishes to channel to Laura's inquiry. Kai? Unmute.
I think the word that came to me was inquiry, and just how it would feel to coach the client to inquire into her own truth so that there's more of an ownership that she might feel. And because I know through my own birth, I had these like affirmations that were like I could lifelines for me that I had crafted previously, and I could anchor into them. And so that was just the offering that came to see if she could do that with your guidance, and maybe that could be something that she would internalize more. If you're finding that your advice is falling on deaf ears, maybe that. And there's one more thing. I don't know, maybe just sit with if that lands at all, if that, how that is.
Yeah, it does land. Yeah, it does. She's someone who is very, she takes a lot from the external, like the external forces are where almost like her anchors are. And so, yeah, I can play with that a little. I think it would be a good exercise. And she just texted me as we're talking and had a quick question. So maybe I'll even play a little bit and ask her if she feels like that it's the right time to do what she asked me to do, and just give it back to her. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? We had a similar piece come through to what Kai shared of next time she asks something you've told her several times that you very above the line say, well, I hear your questions, and I know we've worked with some of these before. So before I answer, I'd love to have you tell me what you already know about this, so I know what piece you want more information about.
Mm-hmm.
And it's that same thing of helping make it hers.
Mm-hmm.
Are we complete with this question? Anyone about ready to pop? Okay, let's clear the space. Now, we do feel there's value once you've offered to check in. How's it land? Because in most situations, you're using your intuition or your channeling and you don't get that feedback. So it helps you to know if you're tuning in more clearly. So, Kimberly, Devora, did you have?
Yeah, in the last group, I really noticed that regarding the question, how does that land? That there were times when we would ask that And the person's response was, yeah, that did. But I felt like, I don't know if it really did land. And I think that it's very difficult to say that something doesn't land. I know that for myself, when there was feedback given that didn't land, I didn't really want to say that doesn't land, or I didn't, that didn't quite resonate. And so I just wanted to acknowledge that piece, because it's really hard to, like, we want to please each other and we want to support each other. And I'm not really sure what the answer to this is, but I just wanted to kind of bring it up because it was an issue for me, feeling like I was like afraid to really share that, that wasn't quite it. And like, how can we say that in a way that's kind and loving so that it really is like a feedback loop? And so I wanted to kind of bring that inquiry in, and, please, if, Evelina or anybody, if you could provide some guidance to us all, how we can be true to ourselves if something doesn't quite land, but try to say it in a way that's loving.
Mm-hmm. What we would often do with an inquiry like this is to ask, how much would you like other people to save their feedback and only give you positive and not say if it doesn't land? Is that what you want from these people here?
No, that's not what I want. I want the honesty. And it's scary for me to have someone say that didn't land.
So here's the above the line piece again, and then Kai in a minute. The line is neutral. Above the line are ways of saying things that build self-esteem, yours and the other person's. Below the line are ways that diminish self-esteem, yours and the other person. That didn't land is below the line because it's negative. So you take out the negatives. So how do I say this in the positives? I appreciate what you're offering, and I'm having to really look at where it applies. At the moment, it feels a little off. It's less of, "Oof, that didn't land." You find a way to say it that feels true without negatives. Kai, what were you gonna say?
Yeah, that personally, I think I invite people to be really honest, and I just kind of similarly, like, you can say, I'll have to sit with that. Because I think too that it's good to sit with something that you resist, because sometimes we want to hear it's actually very telling if we really resonate with something, right? That's one thing. But also if something is if you're having a block and you come across some advice or a reflection that really resists, I think it's really wise to also look at that too. So just, that's how I think I would feel natural to respond, like, I'll have to sit with that. And then actually honestly do, because it might be a gift in disguise. And then it might just be totally the opposite of what you need to hear. And that's information too.
So it's not rejected, it's, I'll sit with it. That's excellent. That's better than our answer. Because it has no charge, you see. And it respects what was given without having to make it yours. Good. So, are we ready for Kimberly's question? And can we all agree to honesty?
Yes.
Everybody willing? Honesty? Okay. And if you say something that is hard for the other person, we work with that too. It's a learning place. Kimberly.
Okay, so my question is around I'm not sure what's interfering with my painting production, creation, whatever. I have never painted this slowly in my life.
So tuning in, heart chakra, sanctuary, core, opening to your highest wisdom, crown chakra blossoming, inviting the highest guidance to come through. Speaking when you're ready. Devora?
Kimberly, I'm wondering if there's a connection for you between the sense that you have about where is your home and um, and the difficulty that you're having producing art.
You unmuted and muted again, so unmute.
That is quite possible linkage. It would be the first time that my location, because of my travels, I usually paint where I travel, and I have traveled to some incredible places. This would be the first time that's impacted on my art. My location's impacted on it, but maybe because there's more of a deeper emotional issue here, that could very well be. Thank you.
Kai?
Kimberly, if you were to ask yourself right now in this sacred container what you think is blocking you, what comes to mind and heart?
I think the mounting paintings that are being stockpiled in different countries at the moment. And I'm thinking, what is the point? That's a good question.
Inquiry is a marvelous tool in channeling. Cuts through very often. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
One other piece is around an artist's date with yourself, and maybe it's journaling. What is the point? Or maybe it's, but just seeing if that might be a helpful practice for you to literally make a date and not have any pressure of what happens in that time and space, but that it is, the intention is to nourish your artistic development. And then just see if by making that date, does painting want to happen in this really organic way? I have a feeling it will.
Thank you.
Good job. That was felt right on. Laura?
Yeah, Kimberly, the phrase "a pregnant pause" came to me. This deeper sense that there's something else gestating. And it could be around the paintings that are mounting and kind of the evolution of what happens with them. It could be around this search for place, but that there's sort of like a higher working at play. Does that resonate with you?
Yes, that does. That does. That lands as well. Thank you.
Good. That felt quite clear too, all of you. Katie, you want to step off the precipice?
Sure. Taking a moment to tap in. The biggest message I'm receiving is what is seeming like a delay is a pause for something bigger to come through. This is a shift in your creativity and creative process. It's not an ending. It's a new chapter. And I'm getting this vision from Source that you've got your art in multiple countries, multiple nations, different parts of the world. And there's this message of you're the common ground, you're the glue here. And there's really a message of you and your art can go anywhere. Your art is coming from your heart chakra. And I do feel Source is showing when you tap into your consciousness, when you tap into Source, you bring the art everywhere you go. And so there's really a vision of when you are putting it out there, painting, creating, that is internal, that's from you, and that's sacred. So when you are ready to see that the art is not tied to any geography, it's from within. When that feels right, it will flow. How did that land?
Can I reflect on that a moment? Yes, that lands. Yep. The last piece I needed to internalize was that I knew it was coming from the heart, but my heart didn't accept that, if I know what I mean. I had to get my heart to accept that. My head knew that. Thank you.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Yeah, good channeling.
Thank you, everyone.
We have one more thought. The landscape that might want to be explored in your art is the landscape of COVID lockdown. Does your art want to express that? Because we imagine all the feelings about being forced to stay in one place, not your choice. They may be in the way of what wants to come through. So it might be just fascinating to paint that. See if that opens something.
So the two currently in progress are that, and that they're the ones taking so long. I hope they're not going to take as long as COVID.
Well, the lockdown's not over. Maybe it's working. Maybe they're works in progress. Yeah. So's your freedom, a work in progress.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Good work, y'all. So we like to do commitments at the end, but we have time for a shorter question and maybe a couple people channeling to it. Okay.
So the inquiry that's really alive for me right now is in relation to the relationship I talked about earlier. And so basically when I was applying to this job, it maybe relatively early on in the relationship brought the idea of me moving in, and he has a downstairs apartment that he rents out. So there's actually like a space that's somewhat separate, but there's a staircase that can connect them. And so we've only started dating since January full moon. So just anyway, so brought in that inquiry, and now it looks like that job's not happening. But he even said, well, even if the job doesn't happen, I'd love you to still move down here with me. And so there's the words like look before you leap, or, lots of the advice I'm getting everywhere is like, what's the rush? Like slow down. And then there's like, my heart is like, literally like I wake up and I'm projecting myself like with him. And so I feel like I have this yes from my heart, but there is a lot that I've developed up here. And I think some of it is this pressure on my son and his schooling. And like, I want him to anchor into where he's going to be in the next 7 years, in his next child's age of childhood. So that's not a short question really, but it's just what's alive in me. Any insight regarding that process?
Tuning in, arriving right in your channel, right in the core. Seeking when you're guided. Katie?
So the biggest message I'm receiving is your heart is showing you the way. Will you let your heart lead you? And I'm seeing this vision of your heart literally being kind of a flashlight in the dark, in this dark forest, saying, come here, I know the way. Let me show you. And there's a message of you've just got to let yourself listen. Give yourself permission to listen and let your heart guide you. How does that land?
It's a beautiful affirmation. Thank you. It's medicine for my heart.
Good. Anyone else? Yes, Laura.
Hi, right when you spoke to that yes coming from your heart, it's like the whole sun shone on my home and in the sphere. And it was just this beautiful, warm, radiant light that was like, yes, that's where the answer wants to come from. That's where the knowing wants to come from. And all the rest of it, the shoulds, the it's too soon, that's just story. And it's other projection, could be other projections and fears. And there's this very clear yes that's already within you. And it's very similar to what Katie said. It's like, that is the truth. And sometimes we have to just jump off the cliff and the precipice, right? That's what Evelina invites us to do. And this is such an opportune time for cliff jumping. It's almost like it's part of what COVID is weeding out the static and jumping off the cliffs. And so we just really support you in that internal wise woman knowing of where your heart wants to be. And all the rest will just fall into place.
Thank you, Laura. That really resonated.
Yeah, thank you.
We have a curiosity. With both of these channelings to follow your heart, does that arrive in you, Kai, as a absolutely yes to do it? Or does it arrive in you of, I really have to let my heart be the one that guides me?
Well, it's funny because my yoni spoke up and was like, well, my yoni's a yes. So I just want to surface that. And that was actually like a Burning Man meditation. Like, what's my fuck yeah? So like, I have a relationship with the yoni. Yes, that is like a deep inquiry. And so, and then the heart is a yes too. Like but there actually are some conversations to have. So it's like, it's a yes, and let's fully dive into some of these like where there are those little red flags, you know, you get these hints at the beginning of a relationship, like I want to get really honest and have time for those conversations. So it's not like, yes, next week, but like, yes, after these conversations. And
Good. So, our sense with channeling is we can help people lean in a direction on a choice and yet not make it for them. So, both of your guidance was excellent. And then you might check in how it's received, you know, and maybe to ask, does your heart have any reservations? We know we're doing brief ones here, but just that might be the next step. So when you tune into your heart, what reservations does it have? So when you air them, there's more information, and then that would guide those conversations. We always want to leave people with, almost always, with an exploration of the choices. We help them know the territory of the choosing. And by the end of the channeling, they may know their choice, but it's their choice. And we said almost without exception. The exception might be when someone's already made the decision and then they don't trust it. And this one's close to that, but not quite. So then we might say, it feels to us that all of you's already made this decision. So what needs to happen here? What will help you trust what you're wanting to do? Good. Good work. One more?
Do you mean one more question or one more response to
One
Kai's
more.
question?
One more response to Kai's
Okay.
question.
I just want to clarify. Thank you.
You're welcome. Perhaps it's complete. So let's clear this space. We do that because when you're reading into someone else, you want to be sure that you just let their energy go, bring yours back to you. So you're not taking people home. Yeah. So anything you want to say about your process as you're tuning in? How it feels? What's the mind chatter? Is it seeming easy or easier? What would help it be easier? What would you like to say? Got it down, huh? Kimberly, and then Katie.
I don't feel like I am channeling in this methodology. I'm used to doing it differently. So I don't know whether I'm just not trusting what's coming through or I'm just not actually into it, getting into the process properly.
Mm-hmm. We'd say it's your first time in this circle, and often the first time people can't quite feel it. So to be with it, to give it some time, and if you have a way you like doing it that's different, you can bring that in if you wish. We want to mentor people in your way, not necessarily our way.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Katie?
Hi, so I have some experience in channeling as a medium, but I find this kind of open forum channeling is it's different to me, and not so much good or bad, just different. Because I'm used to working with clients who have a very specific lost loved one they want to connect with. There's so much emotion and intensity, and I'm asking that spirit to bring me details to help the person heal. And so this, it's kind of like, I've set the intention to channel what I see as God, source, spirit, universe. Um, is there any like need or desire, or how important is it that I channel a specific spirit or archangel, or I guess, I always set the intention only beings of love and light to help this person's healing or growth. I have my own parameters and I'm honoring those in this container too. Um, but I don't know how important the details are, if that makes sense, like the technique, so to speak.
We would say that channeling a specific being often can feel like, I know who I'm talking to, more than just opening to guidance. Also, if you're calling in a certain guide or set of guides, the Council of 12 is a set of guides, it may be a little easier to keep energies around it that hold a container of light. So, and it gives the mind something to focus on of, I'm asking so-and-so to speak through me, or my highest guides. What we think we'll do this week is post a link. There are 2 videos we've done called Collaborating with Spirit. And one of them is a 20-minute process of sitting in the sanctuary at your heart and sitting down maybe at an altar and calling in the brightest, clearest guides that want to work with you. And then asking them to identify themselves and to talk to you about how they want to work with you. So that might give you an opportunity during this week to get clarity about connecting with a specific guide or more than one guide. It's probably good to start with one, get to know them. It's kind of like, when you go to learn something, you get to know one teacher well, but always with the invocation, always making sure that you create a radiant space into which you're calling the being. And then you just sit in meditation and have a journal. You might start automatic writing, have something you can dictate into. You might start speaking into it. And you'll get to where you'll feel the difference between this is my guide speaking through me and this is me. And it's just practice, having more time with it. So we'll post those 2 videos. One's on the website, and I'm not sure where the other one is, but we'll find it. And during this week, you can practice and see if that's what you would like to do, if there's someone who appears and that feels like who you'd like to channel. We're also aware, some of you have said, I want more access to my intuitive mind. And that's also what's being supported here. So, we're not narrowing it down to you've got to get one guide and let that guide speak to you. Because in your life, you also want to be able to come from your higher wisdom. But this lets you explore, do I want to create a relationship with a specific guide or guides and let them channel through me? And you might do the work and find it's your higher self that comes. And your wisdom nature wants to speak through you. Because there are probably 1,000 ways to channel. Okay? Good. Devorah?
Well, I just felt so much better in my channeling process today than I ever felt last cohort.
Yay.
So it was like it kind of came together. That was a good feeling.
Wonderful.
And also, I feel good that I took a couple risks and I spoke up and like I asked for like a channeling 101 and I talked about the, you know, how to receive feedback or how to give feedback that isn't landing. And I really appreciated what you offered. That was helpful. Thank you. And so taking these kind of risks is I guess it's part of my spiritual growth. And then the third thing that I wanted to say, which was super cool, which was, you know, one of the questions that I constantly have is, and how does this relate to my being a rabbi? And what was super cool was there were things that were said that like immediately got that Evelina, you and the council said that just totally got translated into like Jewish terminology that makes sense to me and that I could see bringing to Jewish people, like just the image of in the goddess temple, you know, being at the altar.
Make this concise, please.
Okay.
Yeah.
And just seeing how this is about being a kingdom of priests, which is part of Jewish language, and then if we're all being priests. So that was useful.
Yay. Yes, and please take risk. This is a really good place to do that. Warm-hearted place. So we're going to take the next few moments and each of you write 3 to 5 commitments to yourself of what you're willing to do between this today and next week, our next week's group. 3 to 5 commitments. You can write them on paper or you can put them in the Facebook group because eventually we'd like you to put them in the Facebook group. Katie?
Are you open to giving us a couple examples so we can understand kind of what it looks like in this container?
Sure. People have said things like, I'm going to spend more time at the beach. Or something about your spiritual practices. I'm going to meditate 20 minutes a day. That could be it. I'm going to work on that logo I haven't gotten to. Or I'll watch the video about collaborating with spirit and meet my spirit guide this week. I'll practice channeling 3 times. Whatever would support what you're here to be mentored in. Who needs more time? Okay. Quick committers. So we'll go in the same order as we began. So Laura, if you'll share your commitments.
Yeah. So I'd love to watch the Collaborating with Spirit video. That sounds great. And to have open inquiry about who my guides are. It's not totally clear to me yet. Get a lot of information, but would like just have some curiosity. I would like to do my taxes, like really do them, not just put them on the list and not do them. I'd like to work on my travel plans to New Mexico and Colorado. And I'd like to sit quietly each day for a short period of time. Stillness. Sit in the stillness. Thank you.
Great. May we offer our blessings and love?
Yes, please. I would love that.
Breathing in. Yay. Kai?
My commitments are to show up to a daily meditation practice at least 15 minutes long, make a weekly artist's date with myself, something that I calendar in and show up to, post about my life on Facebook to be more public in my process, go on a daily neighborhood walk and a weekly wilderness hike, and pajama dance with my son once this week.
Great. Can we offer our love and support?
Yes, please.
I love that you're outside. I'm getting a whiff of Sebastopol air.
Good time of year here with the blossoms.
Yeah, I lived in Sebastopol 23 years, so thank you. And Kimberly.
Okay, so I have here, reflect on my notes. I'm a note taker. so I can go back and think about what I've written. Look at my blockages and answer the questions that I wrote down that you were giving as we went through it. Look and reflect on the painting advice that you all kindly shared with me. Reflect on whether I want a physical altar, and explore this feeling foolish.
Great. Ready for love and support?
Thank
you. Breathing it in. And Katie.
So I put down, I will savor my trip this week. I'm going out of town later this week, allowing myself to enjoy recharging. I am surrendering my timelines in favor of divine timing in my career and new business projects. And I will embrace the unknown, focusing on what I have to gain.
Great. You ready for love and
Yes,
support?
please.
Breathing it in. Devora.
I will do my taxes, get my computer working, have a marijuana-free work week, and watch the Collaborating with Spirit video.
Great. Ready for love and support? Beautiful. Beautiful. I'm going to work on my taxes and get those videos posted. And I've been doing like a lot of videos. I'm going to do one on satsang, that's cooking in me. So Thursday, I have my monthly membership series, Satsang, if you want to join. Thursday, 12 to 2 Eastern. Same start time for each of you as today. And we'll be doing some multidimensional activations, and then people ask questions of the council or me, and being satsang, I may answer, they may answer, we may answer. It's quite fun and can get into some pretty liminal spaces between the worlds. So come join if you wish. So, anything that wants to get said just to complete today? Deborah?
I have noticed that from last cohort and from today, that there are times when you tell me to be brief. And so I'm just kind of acknowledging that there's something in how I'm speaking that seems to be going on too long. And I just wanted to say that because I feel that I keep getting contained in that way. So I'm not sure if I need to apologize or if I or what, but I just wanted to say it.
Thank you. We probably said that with someone else too, didn't we? Or was it just Devorah? Well, we'll look at that from this side. The thought process behind the last one was, oh, we've got X number of minutes and people need to do commitments and share, and we want to end on time and have a moment for closure. So it's often that we're watching the clock. And we want to sit with it. We don't think it's personal, but it is coming back as feedback. So you can look at your side and we'll look at our side. How's that?
That sounds good. Thank you.
You're welcome. Kimberly.
So I'm a very private person, although I'm gregarious, I'm very private. And I have found today very confronting, and it just takes time to build trust to share in this forum. And I appreciate all of you sharing as much as you have, and I've done my best. I feel a bit of trepidation about 2 new people or 3 new people being added in the next round of my get together. And I guess they may feel the same too, because we're 1 session ahead of them. So I don't know if that's just, I'll just acknowledge my feeling, whether there's any response to that or not.
I have some concerns. I would have loved everyone to come at the same time. I have concerns just, for me, I have it built a certain level and a certain budget and it's very different with 5 instead of 8. I think it's challenging to add it after the first one, except every 6 weeks we add people. So I think we have ways of integrating people. And I was curious, I wanted to ask, if I do bring in 3 new people, how you would feel about them seeing this video. Because I feel every video's, that we have a confidentiality with the group that's here. So then I have a concern whether it would feel okay to have new people see it if they join the cohort.
I'm okay with that, but I think it's really good to be explicit about confidentiality. So as long as there's that explicit, or you can watch this if you are agreeing to a confidential container, And I feel comfortable. But if it's just kind of assumed or something, then that doesn't feel like a safe container.
I would definitely work with clear agreements around it. And I want that with all of us here, that no one else sees these videos but us. So let's do this. This is a way to give an indication. So if you're at, I really don't want anyone else added, it would be down here. And I'm kind of okay with it, and that's fine with me. And yeah, I like the bigger group, or yeah, I'm fine with adding. So where are you each with that? This gives me a sense of the group. Okay. The council and Evelyn are going to sit and see what we can learn. Because actually, interestingly, Devorah, our timing thing was about the timing for 8. We actually had time for you to continue. So it makes more room. And when there's 8 and you ask a question, more people are bringing through wisdom. So there's advantages on both sides. So can you trust us to take it into our work and see what's best? And we're very careful. We actually could have had 8, but there are some people we said no to because we want a certain caliber, characteristic. We want a really safe and sacred group. We feel we haven't. So we'll add if it supports what we have and not if it doesn't. How's that?
I'm just really appreciating this conversation and that each of you, Devorah and Kimberly, sort of opened up these concerns. And it's vulnerable to share even a concern, and the authentic conversation is really rich, and I trust. Even I've been here like 5 times now, and I had my own trepidation of, oh God, it's a new group, and what am I going to share, and how's it going to be, and I feel kind of timid today. And it's literally like my 5th time in a row going through this program. So I had similar trepidation, and it really does blossom into a beautiful space of trust and love and containership is what I've experienced. And that happens in each and everybody's own personal time and pace.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So just the honoring of choice and the honoring of your timing and your pace is really important.
Good. Thank you all so much. I love that we've opened this on a grounded transparency, authenticity, honesty, and keep bringing what you want to the group and keep sharing with me and with each other on the Facebook group. So I want to thank the Council of 12. Thank and bless all the beings who've assisted us. Thank you for being here. Thank you for loving us. Help us know even more how to work in collaboration. And we release you and ask you continue to guide our process to support our highest destinies evolving with miracles of grace, ease, and elegance. And may the realms of light bless this earth with so much love and so much peace that it showers upon every being on the planet, and they open to the love and turn to the light and live from their heart. Blessed be.
Blessed be.
And then we like to take a moment to just release everyone else's energy. So starting with the crown, your right hand releases everyone else. Your left hand calls you in. Third eye, letting go. Loving you, bringing me back. The throat, letting go, bringing me in. The heart, letting go, bringing in your own energy right to center. Third chakra, letting go, bringing you home. The second, letting go, bringing you back. And the first. So we're going to take one more minute if we can for a full breath. Breathing in and out, and then we're going to do an ah in the heart and an om just to complete. Full breath in. Let it slowly find its way out, all the way out, and pause at the bottom. Ah. Full breath in. Om. Two more, and on the end, you just look up into the third eye. Breathing in. Om. Full breath. Om. And bless yourself. Thank you so much. And if you want to unmute and say goodbye, feel free. Thank you for being here.
Thank
you,
you.
everybody.
Thank you.
I'm excited to be with all of you.
Yay.
Me too.
Thank you.
Thank you, Evelina, for holding space.
You're
Goodbye.
very welcome.
See you next week.
I feel honored. Yeah.